Welcome back. All right. I want to talk about goaltending today, which means tomorrow when I do like a power rankings themed video around players, it will not be about goaltenders. Not this week. I feel like I've done that twice in the last month, and I don't really need to go in and power rank goaltenders again. At least not at this point. Maybe around Christmas we can do power rankings of everybody, and then people just get mad at the guy delivering the information. Now I've got advanced stats on the board for goaltenders for this video, and I'm going to talk about each team and how I feel they're doing with their goaltending. And the numbers I think are relatively accurate. I got these from Evolving Hockey, and I know there are some that don't like the advanced stats, but the advanced stats get past what I've always disliked with goaltenders. Goaltenders get measured by wins. Wins are a team statistic. They get measured by goals against average. That could be a team statistic as well. A guy might save 46 out of 51. The guy at the other end saves 18 out of 19. And the guy who allowed one goal has a one goals against average. The guy who saved everything but the five, well, now his goals against average is 5. I guess he had a bad game. And it's never been something I agree with. And throughout my time watching hockey, I've always wanted a stat that tells you, okay, so you strip everything away, this is how this works. Now, these are goals saved above expected on the board from Evolving Hockey. I do like to switch out where I'm getting the information from. And I've got it done by divisions here: Pacific, Central, Atlantic, and Metro. So preamble aside, let's go through it, and I'll try to make this as quickly as I can. We'll start with Anaheim. Their goaltending's been fantastic. Dostal, goals saved above expected, 16.81. He's still number one in the league. And almost no matter which advanced stat sites you look at, you're going to see Dostal at or near the top. John Gibson, 1.18 goals saved above expected. Gibson's been good, and so there's always that possibility that maybe Gibson's going to have some value on the trade market. Maybe there is a case for, and the one I keep seeing is Gibson to Colorado. There might be something to that. I could see that working because Colorado definitely needs help in net. Calgary, Wolf, 8.43 goals saved above expected. Will not surprise anybody who's been watching him play. Vladar is a positive as well at 1.35. So Calgary's getting the goaltending as they did last season as well. And Wolf has been excellent. So good on Wolf. He was excellent in the AHL as well. And now you've got Devin Cooley tearing things up for the Wranglers. So the Flames have a pretty good eye when it comes to goaltenders right now. The Oilers have had their struggles, and goaltending is definitely a part of it. Calvin Pickard, negative 2.39 goals saved above expected. And Skinner, rough start to the season for him, negative 6.25. At some point in time, the Oilers, who have McDavid and Draisaitl in their prime, they're going to have to decide, is Skinner the guy who's really going to be our starter if we're going to win a Stanley Cup? Stop laughing, a Canadian team's going to win it someday. I may not be around to see it, but someday it'll happen. So the question becomes, is Skinner going to be the guy, or are you going to need to make some sort of move to upgrade your goaltending? And it's a tough conversation to have. But at some point in time, I think the Oilers are going to have that. The LA Kings are not in a dissimilar situation. Kemper, negative 0.61, goal saved above expected, so that's not bad. But he's hurt right now. Riddick, negative 4.84. Riddick can be a good backup, but like last night's game, there were a couple of those goals by San Jose that I thought, maybe if Kemper's in, maybe he gets that. I don't like to criticize goaltenders because, let's be honest, they're all great goaltenders. Some are greater than others, and generally the goaltenders that we look at and go, well, he's not very good, it's because they make the saves they should, but they don't make these fantastic saves above expected. And so I always feel like it's unfair, because even a bad NHL goaltender is a heck of a lot better than 95% of the goaltenders in the world. I mean pros. It might even be a higher percentage than that. Let's not get caught up on that. Let's move on. San Jose's getting very good goaltending, and it doesn't seem to matter who's in net. Blackwood, 4.34 goals saved above expected. Vanacek, 2.57, and Askarov, 1.26. Might I suggest Mackenzie Blackwood as a rental at the deadline? When they picked up Askarov, that definitely makes it so there's more depth. And Vanacek's name gets floated out there every now and then. But why not Blackwood? Final year of a contract. He's playing very, very well. So why not? Vanacek, 2.57 goals saved above expected. Askarov, 1.26 above expected. It doesn't matter who's in net. They're getting good goaltending. I have seen some Sharks fans that aren't enamored with Vanacek over Askarov, and I'm not going to say they should be, but I think Blackwood would have the most value on the trade market. Decord has been a revelation for Seattle. 12.86 goals saved above expected. Grubauer has continued to struggle. Negative 1.36. And there's a confidence Seattle plays with in front of Decord, which is notable. So, yeah, Decord has really established himself now as a starter in the NHL, and I think that's kind of a surprise to many. Vancouver had good goaltending going on with Lankinen. It has started to slide. Negative 1.21 goals saved above expected for Lankinen. I think they're overplaying him. Understandable. Shilov's shows as a negative 5.74. Once Demko comes back, I would expect Shilov's get sent down to the AHL, and Lankinen would be the backup for Demko. That would be my expectation, and so we'll see if that's what takes place. But for Vancouver, the change they need is they need Demko back. The Vegas Golden Knights. Samsonov's numbers have dropped a bit. 2.38 goals saved above expected. Hill, negative 0.28. And Hill just hasn't seemed to be quite himself this year in the games that I've watched, which is generally all of them. So, yeah, Hill, maybe he's fallen off a bit. Samsonov's been pretty darn good, though. I don't think Vegas has a goaltending problem. Chicago, interesting situation with Chicago. You got Mrazek, 4.16 saved above expected. Then you've got Soderblom, 3.37 saved above expected, and Brossoit, yet to make his season debut. I almost guarantee there's people watching this video that'll be like, Laurent Brossoit's a Blackhawk? Because he hasn't played there yet. But when Brossoit's healthy and he's ready to play, does Mrazek get moved? Does Soderblom get moved? Like, obviously, you could take Soderblom and send him down to the AHL. I don't think he needs waivers at this point, but if he did, maybe you shop him. Because there are definitely some teams that need a goaltender and might view one of the goalies in Chicago as an upgrade. I can't see Mrazek going anywhere before anybody asks, because I think Chicago really did save his career, as he has said, and I don't think he'd have much interest in going anywhere else. I think he's comfortable there. Colorado, obviously Colorado is a bit of a flashpoint right now. Annunen, negative 5.94, goals saved above expected, and Georgiev, negative 6.7. Colorado, they've got two goaltenders who can be good. I don't think they have one that I look at and say there's a bona fide starter. And that's even though last year Georgiev led the league in wins. He had a good year, not great year. And in the playoffs, it was very up and down for him. Really rough start against Winnipeg, and then things got better. And then he had some issues in the second round. So I would not be surprised to see Colorado make a change for a similar reason as Edmonton. You've got these forwards, you've got this pretty good team, but if your goaltending is handicapping your chances of winning come playoff time, you've got to address that, right? Dallas, their goaltending's been good. Ottinger, 7.6 goals saved above expected. DeSmith, 3.26. I'm kind of surprised at DeSmith still being that high after his last start, where I thought he was a little shaky, but the overall numbers are good for Dallas. Dallas is in good shape in net. Minnesota, Gustafsson, positive at 6.49. Fleury, negative 2.85. So Fleury's been good. And again, I do feel like they play a little bit different in front of Fleury than they do with Gustafsson. Maybe a little more protecting the net in front of Fleury than in front of Gustafsson. Or maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I have that wrong. I'm going to make sure that I put down a couple of timestamps for this video for West and for East, because this could end up being a little while. Anyways, Minnesota, it's Fleury's last year. Wallstead hasn't played yet, but let's just say Fleury has a rough second half, you've got Wallstead as an ace in the hole there in Minnesota. In Nashville, it is a tale of two goaltenders. Saros, 10.31 goals saved above expected, has been excellent. Wedgwood, negative 4.31. And that's even though last night he saved 15 out of 15 in relief. So Wedgwood's had a tough time in Nashville. There's plenty of time for him to turn around. Wedgwood can be a good backup. St. Louis, surprisingly, both goaltenders in the negative. Binnington, negative 0.98, so not terribly in the negative. Hofer, negative 2.21. Hofer had a good night last night, though, so hopefully that number starts to turn around for him and for the Blues. I don't think we're going to see any kind of change in goal for St. Louis, and I don't think we will for these teams either. That's if I just go over a team's numbers and go, yeah, there you go. That means I don't think there's going to be any kind of change. And in St. Louis, I think Binnington and Hofer can be a really good tandem for them. Maybe the coaching change turns their season around as well. Utah, tale of two goaltenders here. Maybe the most dramatic difference in the National Hockey League. Vejmelka, 11.46 goals saved above expected. Excellent run for him. I believe he's on an expiring contract too, so Vejmelka could make a very interesting rental at the deadline. And if he's got 1 year left after this one, I don't think he does, but if he has 1 year left after this one, he'd still be worth picking up. His cap hit's pretty good considering what he brings. And then Connor Ingram's had a rough time. Negative 9.38 goals saved above expected. So the interesting part being Ingram gets goal support, so he's got a better record than does Vejmelka. And that's part of the reason why I don't grade wins in this at all. Winnipeg, Hellebuck, 16.71 goals saved above expected. Excellent numbers there. He is second only to Dostal. And Comrie, 0.45. So Comrie's been a positive in net. It's definitely a big difference between Hellebuck and Comrie, but you put Hellebuck with almost any goaltender, and there's going to be a big difference between Connor Hellebuck's numbers and the other goaltenders' numbers. All right, getting over to the East. Boston. No one saw this coming. Korpisalo's been good. 2.81 goals saved above expected. Swayman had been good, but his numbers had really started to slide as well. Negative 6.14 goals saved above expected. They need more out of Swayman. I'm not dumping on the contract because it's a long contract. One thing that I try not to do is overreact to a couple of weeks or a month worth of data, especially when it's a 7 or 8 year contract. It's a long time. And when fans get, jump on a guy, he's just awful. I can't do that. Buffalo. Luukkonen has been a positive. 6.28 goals saved above expected. Reimer shows us a negative 0.49, but I think that's better now than what it was because of the last game Reimer played there in Buffalo. That would include his Anaheim time as well, which was just the one game, but that was a rough night for him. Levi, negative 5.85. Clearly, Devin Levi needs some more time in the minors. He's a higher profile young goaltender, but he's still a young goaltender, and so there's no problem with him needing some more time in the minors. The Detroit Red Wings, Talbot, 5.45 goals saved above expected, has been really good. Lyon, 2.08, has been good as well. Husso, a bit more of a struggle, negative 4.15 when Husso's taken the net, which Husso's had a really rough couple of years. Detroit's got 3 goaltenders technically, but it is a rotation of Talbot and Lyon at this stage. Florida, kind of a tale of 2 goaltenders here too, going kind of a different direction. Spencer Knight, positive, 2.1. Good on Spencer Knight. He's paid his dues and now he's playing well, but Bobrovsky's numbers have been rough, negative 7.92. And I know that there's definitely people who love Bobrovsky. He just won a Stanley Cup and everything, but the numbers tell us so far this year, he has not performed up to expectation. So that's where we're at with Bobrovsky. He is going to need to turn that around. I don't think Florida's going to make any change in net before anybody says so. And Boston as well. I don't think there's going to be any change in net for Boston. Swayman's not on the market. He's not going to be on the market. He's just going to have to work through it. Montreal, Montembeault, 0.23 goals saved above expected. Primo, rough year for him so far, negative 4.65. Believe he's not waiver exempt though, so I don't see any change in Montreal that would involve trying to send Primo down to Laval, unless it's on a conditioning stint where you don't have to put him on waivers. But then you have to bring him back up not too long after, and you're still going to have that issue if you acquired another goaltender that you'd have to have 3 on the roster. Ottawa's goaltending has not been good enough. Forsberg, negative 1.44, which is not awful. Ullmark, though, negative 6.66. So, negative number of the beast? I haven't seen that before. Not on this board. But Ullmark has not lived up to it. So, what's interesting is there's been a lot of talk about Swayman and the contract he signed. Ullmark got the exact same cap hit on his extension, and his numbers are noticeably worse than what Swayman has. And I haven't heard anybody say anything about Ullmark and his extension. So that is strange. It is a little strange. I think it's because of the public nature of the spat between Swayman and the Bruins, and the Bruins being a higher profile team than the Ottawa Senators. Tampa, it has been very different depending on who's in net. Vasilevsky, 7.86 goals saved above expected. That number's tremendous. The last time I looked at Vasilevsky's numbers, they were not that strong. Johansson, negative 5.99, so almost a negative 6. He had a rough night the other night, so Yeah, that game against Columbus, I think, probably caused that number to balloon up just a little bit. Uh, I do sometimes wonder with Tampa if they'll ever go out and get, like, I don't want to put Johansson down or anything, but I do wonder if they'll find a proven backup, a veteran backup, like what they had with Brian Elliott, that kind of thing. But at this point, I guess Johansson's not really hurting them in general. So yeah, we'll see. Toronto Stolars continues to be quite the story. 10.22 goals saved above expected. Wool 0.85. He's in the positive. I remember looking at a chart not too long ago where he was kind of in the negative. So Wool's plays improved. Hildeby, a young goaltender as well. Very, very small sample size. Negative 1.81. So that's your Atlantic Division. Let's move over to the Metro, where things are interesting. Anderson, 6.81 goals saved above expected, but Anderson's injured. Kochetkov, 3.68 goals saved above expected, but Kochetkov's injured. The good news being, the news today is that it's just day to day, and Kochetkov could come back for this weekend. Spencer Martin, positive, 0.34. There is a definite drop off between Anderson, Kochetkov, and Spencer Martin. But again, Martin is the number 3 string goaltender, and so you don't expect like the next coming of Patrick Waugh from a third stringer. You are going to get some good nights. You're going to get some rough ones as well, and so your hope is that you score enough goals to make up for it, which Carolina is absolutely capable of doing. Columbus, this one kind of surprised me. Merzlikins, negative 2.49. I think Elvis has been much better this year than previous seasons, but the advanced stats say he still has some room to grow there. Tarasov, negative 5.66. And it's not that long ago Tarasov was talked about as being probably the future starter for the Columbus Blue Jackets. I don't know that his performance has necessarily changed those plans, but it's always possible that that could happen, right? Goaltenders are a little bit like voodoo and very unpredictable, and I have nothing but respect for them for the work they do, and for being willing to go out there and know they're the last line of defense. And when something goes in the net, they're going to have fingers pointing at them. Jake Allen, 5.93 goals saved above expected. He's had a very strong first quarter of the season. Markstrom, negative 0.004. Now, the last time I looked at Markstrom as well, I seem to remember the negative being a little bit higher. So I think he's trending in the right direction. He is still the starter there, but I think Jake Allen has shown that he can split the duties with Markstrom. So, yeah, we'll see if New Jersey decides that's enough. I think they'll be fine. Markstrom's shown before in the past that he's not bad in the playoffs either. He showed that in Vancouver back in 2020 prior to the injury that left Demko then in the net the rest of the way against the Vegas Golden Knights. So the Islanders are getting good goaltending. Do not put your hand up as being surprised, because I will not believe you. Sorokin, 4.48 goals saved above expected. Varlamov, 0.41. So Varlamov's in the positive. It's not that long ago I saw him in the negative as well. So Varlamov's really picked things up. No reason to think of any changes there. The New York Rangers, Igor Shesterkin, despite his numbers not being Shesterkin-like so far this month, 10.27 goals saved above expected. His .905 save percentage in November, keep in mind, is still above league average. And then there's Jonathan Quick at 6.28 goals saved above expected. Remember, he's played a lot less than Igor as well. So goaltending is the least of any issue that the New York Rangers might be having. Philadelphia Flyers, not a positive number in sight. Negative 0.37 for the currently injured Ersson. Negative 1.55 for Kolosov. And negative 3.44 for Fedotov. I think Fedotov's getting better, but there's definitely some question when it comes to the goaltending in Philly as to, okay, so who should really be the starter? And since this team is just on the fringes of maybe being in the hunt for the playoffs, in the event that Philadelphia decided to go for it at some point this year, that might be evidenced if they opt to go out and sign a goaltender, so, or trade for a goaltender. Very likely trade for a goaltender. I misspoke. I apologize. So Pittsburgh, Bloomquist is the one with the positive number at 0.92. Jari, negative 2.9. Again, a number that I think is getting better. Nedeljkovic, not. Negative 8.48 in terms of goals saved above expected. If Pittsburgh was in the hunt for a playoff spot, sure. I think that they would very likely be in the market for a goaltender, but they're not really in the hunt for a playoff spot, so they're probably not in the hunt for a goaltender. Washington, Logan Thompson, 8.68 goals saved above expected. This is where I just remind people I was very surprised that Vegas moved him, because And I know he asked for the trade. They should have named him the starter. Would have been my choice. Logan Thompson's a very good goaltender. I think Washington got some theft there in getting him from Vegas. And Lindgren, 0.69 goals saved above expected. Charlie Lindgren, I think that's down from where he was last season. I think he had a really strong year last year, but now they got Logan Thompson having a really strong year. So the Capitals, probably very grateful to the Vegas Golden Knights for moving Thompson to their team. And not that Vegas is complaining. Vegas is tops in their division. But yeah, Thompson, I think the best of the goaltenders between those teams. So in terms of teams that might be looking for help, I say you go where the two Reds are. So you got Calvin Pickard and Skinner, Kemper and Riddick, Annan and Georgiev. I feel like, yeah, St. Louis won't. Philly, I think if they get into the hunt for the playoffs and really want to push for a spot, maybe, but I'm not going to put an asterisk there. So I guess it's three teams in the West that I look at and say, they might be in the market for a goaltender. And then it's a matter of looking at the teams that are out of the hunt for a playoff spot that might have a goaltender to give, like maybe Gibson in Anaheim if Anaheim decides they've got a number 3 goaltender they can rely on as the backup. San Jose has 3 very capable goaltenders. Technically, Minnesota has 3 in that Wallsted's there, but they're not trading Gustafsson with the run they've been on. That's not happening. And then who else might have a goaltender that could potentially be available? If we get to a point where the Islanders really totally aren't going to make the playoffs, could Lou move Varlamov? I don't think he does. I don't think that's a possibility. But you guys can let me know your thoughts. Which goalies do you think have numbers that are going to improve? Which ones do you think are going to drop off? And more importantly, who do you get if you're the Oilers, the Kings, or the Avs? Because those to me are the 3 teams that could definitely use either somebody who could share starts or could use maybe a little bit better of a backup than what they've had thus far this season. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below as always. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe in the event you may not have done so already. Thank you guys so much for all your support. I will talk to you again soon.